Singapore or like even China.
Yeah, yeah. I'm recording now, just letting you know. So we're gonna first off, you know who I am. You know, you,
No, no. Please explain to me.
um, so but for the people that will be watching this, I'd love you to introduce yourself. What kind of work that you do. It doesn't have to be just your professional work. What kind of things you're into, hobby wise, work wise, whatever you want to present yourself, so we know what worlds you work in.
What world do I live
Yeah, what world you
in?
live in. Yeah.
Well, my name is Carrie. I'm from Singapore. I am. I'm currently jobless right now. Or well, I'm living life right now. I've been in education for like the past 8 years, and before that, I was doing a lot of music, a lot of events. I think it's not so much music that I know about because clearly I'm not very savvy about the kind of genre of music that I listen to. But I do a lot of events and I like people. My forte is people. I'm really good with people, I think, and that's the thing that has connected me to people from everywhere around the world.
Yeah.
And I like helping people. I like doing stuff for them, and I believe that it's my role to help people get to where they are
Yeah,
or where
yeah.
they want to be.
I I believe you.
Good.
I believe you. Sometimes you even want to help people that look like they don't like people as much as you do.
Yes, yes. I will break them
In that you did. That you did. So as we were just saying, the dynamic in Singapore is so different because who and what a minority is way different to the US or the UK or France. So are there moments where you, even in your work, where and I know you've worked in different countries as well outside of Singapore, are there moments where you feel like you have to code switch? Does that have any
yeah, yeah,
relevance
yeah.
to you?
All the time actually, because like the people, there are so many different types of people in Singapore. So like my neighbors only speak in Bahasa Melayu, which is Malay, and so we have four different main races in Singapore, ethnic races. So we have Chinese, the Malays, not Malaysians, Malays, Indians, and Eurasians. The Eurasians are a mix of like Portuguese, from the Portuguese settlers, and then they mix with the Straits Chinese, and it's a whole. These are the four main races, but of course there are a lot of expats and foreigners who come here for work. So we have like French, the English, the Australians, everyone
Yeah.
basically,
And
and like in a day, I code switch many times depending on who I'm talking to, right? So like if I step out of my house and my neighbors are outside, and so they only speak in Malay, and so I speak in my pidgin Malay, and it's always a mix of, because I can't really speak Malay, and I'm not very good at it, so I speak a little bit of French. So somehow I throw in the French, and they, as long as the announcers, and it sounds right, they actually get it. It's quite funny because I'm speaking to them in French and they are speaking to me in Malay, and we understand each other.
is
And like, sorry, yeah,
no, 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 no,
and
no. Go on,
we
carry on.
basically we communicate. So we go out. The aunties outside speaking. They will tell me about their day, and then after that I meet another neighbor who's Chinese. So she only speaks in Chinese.
And
So I would
which type of Chinese as well?
Mandarin. So like the Singaporean Mandarin is not quite as eloquent and not as pure as the Chinese, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So sometimes when we speak to the mainlanders, they look at us in disgust and they're like, "What are you talking about?" You know, we have many different words for different things. So like even simple words like air conditioner, the air conditioning. So what we say is literally like 冷气机, which is the machine that blows out cold air. And whereas they call it 空调, which is something completely different. There's a specific word for like the air conditioner. So that one is also different. And so I have to speak to my neighbor in Mandarin, and then like sometimes a little bit of English, and she understands basic English. So I have to keep it down really simple. And then I walk out again. As I continue on my way, I meet another neighbor or another friend who speaks English perfectly. So we converse like Singaporeans, and we have our last, and we're like, oh, have you eaten? You makan already? So in a sentence like we go, you makan already? It means have you eaten? So makan is a Malay word. Already is just like it's just Asian. Everybody just goes already all the time, And like if I get on Skype call with you, then I have to try to enunciate a little bit better because otherwise we have no clue what the fuck I'm saying. So yeah. So depending on who I'm speaking to.
Yeah. How many languages do you speak? Even if you're not
Well,
fully fluent, but how many?
I speak Mandarin, English,
Mm-hmm.
French,
Mm-hmm.
Bahasa a little bit, Bahasa Malaysia, and I speak the Chinese dialect. So we have my parents.
Okay.
We have different dialects, right? So we have Teochew, we have Hokkien, we have Cantonese. So these are the dialects that I can speak to.
Okay, I know. I remember you spoke Hokkien, and I assumed
Yeah,
that you'd be Cantonese.
because I tried to teach you the song.
Yeah. I'll get it one day. I think my highlight was that's a whole nother story. But so within those languages that you speak, so that's like 7, 8 languages really, and about
Yeah.
5 distinct languages. So how far could you get in just English? So how much of the Singaporean English is pure English that other English speakers could understand? Would you say as a percentage like 50, 60, 70?
I think the Singaporean English is English. It's just that we have a strange accent, and we talk really fast. So like if we do not mix in our own lingo like makan or like can do liao, it's just then people will understand. So if we speak without all the additional las, the lay,
But that's what I'm saying when we say Singlish rather than the English that's spoken in Singapore. When we talk about Singlish, how much with the la, you makan
that people
la?
will understand.
Yeah.
I think people will understand maybe about 40% of it.
40.
40% or like 60% maximum, because they'll be like, okay, that sounds like English. I can catch certain words, but I have no clue what this whole sentence means.
Yeah. Wow, that's a lot for that's heavy. That's heavy. And
Yeah.
how do you find travel and work in the rest of Asia, rest of like East and Southeast Asia? How do you find that in regard to not just mainland China, but Taiwan, any of the places where you go, where you should be able to speak to people? Are there any issues or problems
You mean in English?
in any of the languages that you speak? So speaking to a fully Malay person.
I think the advantages of being a Singaporean is because we have bits of everything. So it's been really really helpful that like I've been traveling for so long and so many different countries, right? So being able to speak different dialects and like being able to tailor the English to a point where most people will understand. Or I have like certain words in Thai that I know of, like toilet, very good, like so it's the moment you are able to communicate even in like a little bit of in either their language or in their tone, they react really well. So one example would be like I went to work in Cambodia. So on the first day I arrived in Cambodia, I went into the Russian market. So the Russian market has so it's very local. So I went into this area where it's all food and local market style. And as I was walking past, I heard this lady who was making noodles speaking in Teochew, which is my dialect. So I decided I want to eat. So I walked in, I was like, hey, and then I started speaking in Teochew, and I was like, oh, do you have this? How do you sell this? And she was completely like, wow. She's like, oh, you're Teochew too? Then she's like, come sit down, and then she fed me noodles, and she started talking to me about her hometown, and she's like, oh, where you from, da da da. So when I told her I was Singaporean, and she was like, oh, you guys are great. You can speak so many languages. I'm so glad to have you here. Da, da, da. So, you build an instant bond. So it's really easy.
I love what you said about, you didn't just say about the language. You said if you can speak in their language or they speak, but you also said the tone, if you can match their tone. And that's so very important. It's not a thing that people always think about. Even when we talk about language, people forget that sign language, facial expressions, looks, eye contact, all these things are also part of the expression and or communication. People often
Yes.
forget that, and tone. That's very perfect. Tone, would you say that maybe Singaporeans or yourself have a better tone than maybe the rest of the world in that regard? Because
Wow, the rest of the world maybe. I'm not. I don't think it's such a big claim, but I think it's about
I'm putting the
one
claims
thing.
out there.
I think it's an individual's choice. It's about wanting to connect with people. So when you really truly want to connect with someone, then of course you make an effort to reflect the other person. So that's where the tone and everything else comes in. We've had so many foreigners that come in, and then somehow I don't know why they think that Singaporeans do not speak English. So I've had people come up to me and like, hi, do you speak English? And my reply just goes like, yes, do you?
Perfect. Perfect answer to them. How does the after that, what is then the conversation like then? Is it usually cool after that, or do they
Yeah,
feel
I mean, yeah. I usually laugh, and then
yeah?
they'll be like, "Oh, great, you speak English." I was like, "Yeah, we all do." And they're like, "Oh, but I've heard people speaking in what sounded like English." I was like, "Yeah, it's English, but it's still English. It's just that people talk a little bit faster, and there's a lot more slang in it." And they'll be like, "Oh, yeah, okay." So
Would you be able to give me potentially one of the worst first and best situations of code switching? You've given a few already, but give it a worst one first, and then a best one as something to look forward to.
mm, mm, best or worst? Well, I think
Give me the bad first.
the best. I think the worst one was probably the ones where they came up to me and they'll be like, "Oh, do you speak English?" That usually gets my goats.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then I'm sure nobody means it to be like racist or anything. It's just that people are in a situation where they don't understand. So, but yeah, and like being able to help people is really effective. It's really useful, and it is nice because like sometimes I'm in the supermarket. Oh yeah, so recently I was just in the supermarket. So this guy, because number one he had a mask on,
Mm.
and I think he's French, so he was asking for what the, he was asking one of the storekeepers, who was either mainland Chinese or like Malaysian Chinese, so didn't understand English as much. So I think he wanted a dehumidifier. So he was asking one of the ladies, and he's like, hey, excuse me, do you have the dehumidifier? Do you have the one to take off the moisture? And the lady was like, huh? What? So I happened to be walking past, and he just kept trying. He's like, the water, the takeout water, the dehumidifier. So I walked past, and I was like, okay. And so I looked at the lady. I was like, oh, it's a brand. It's called Hungry Hippo or something. I can't remember. Water Hippo or something. I said, oh, it's the dehumidifier. And she's like, oh, dehumidifier. Okay. So I think it's still English. It's just that the accents are so different that nobody understands it, right?
Yeah. That's a great example. That is definitely a great example.
Oh, I've got another one. Can I tell you this one? This one is hilarious.
Go.
I was in Melbourne, and we were all sitting. So I was out with my friends, and we were in Lygon Street, which is this whole street. It's Italian based, so there were a lot of Italian restaurants and everything else. So we were all sitting in this Italian restaurant outside, and then this mama, this Italian mama, she came out, and she's like, "What do you want?" And then my friend, they are all Singaporean. So this guy went, what kind of juices do you have? So the lady went, what? And she's like, what kind of juices do you have? And then the lady's like, and she looked at me and she's like, what is he talking about? So I said, he said, what kind of juices do you have? And then she's like, oh, why didn't you say so? We have orange, apple, pineapple, mango. And then my friend was like, what the hell? I said the same thing.
Is it do you think that's your awareness of the world or your racism?
I don't know, man. I think it's a little bit of both.
Yeah. The mix.
Yeah, but I've had that experience too, like I was in New Zealand. So we were in a farm somewhere, and I think, well, maybe I was trying to like project this racism, because this guy, so he came over, I think one of the farmers, so he was like, oh, it's a beautiful day, isn't it? And I was like, yeah, it is. I said, oh, and there are, I can't remember, I said, I saw butterflies, or I remember I said something. And then he just stared at me, and he looked at my boyfriend, who was Kiwi and white. And she's like, he looked at me, he looked at him, and he's like, sorry, I don't understand what she said. So I was like, I'm speaking English. What the hell? So I said, no, I saw some butterflies over there. And he just stared at me again, and then he looked at my boyfriend, and he's like, what did she say?
And then what happened?
So I got mad. I got really mad. I was like, and then after, my boyfriend said whatever I said, repeated my story, and then he's like, oh, okay, have a good day, and then he walked off, and then I was like, what the fuck? I was like, I spoke English. Why? Yeah, he's just racist, just because I'm Chinese, I look Chinese, and that's why he's not comprehending what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And he's like, you have a funny accent, that's why nobody understands you. I was like, ah.
And then you broke up.
Yes. We broke up not long after.
I'm gonna finish up now because I don't want to take too much of your time, but we can stay on after I start recording if you're up for it. As far as code switching, I'd say your experiences are more upbeat than some other people's. Maybe because you have maybe because of you individually as a person, but also maybe because of having a background of a culture that is mixed and knows that it's not finding itself. It already knows we are this, is that, a British guy, this, Americans, French, Chinese, Malay. Da, da, da. You already know it's not a puzzle in the sense. It's only a puzzle for outsiders coming in who might get put. I remember like being around Little India, and that was just like wow. It's like and coming from Britain where we have loads and loads of South Asian people, but it's different South Asian people. We've got more Pakistani, Northern Indian, Punjab, Bengal. So you've got all like the Tamils and Sri Lankans and stuff, and it's like this is similar but different. Like
Yeah.
yeah, you know, one of my best experiences there, and I love this when this happens because often types of racism affect darker skin. Usually, not all the time, but I had a hat on that covered the most of my hair, so people were at first trying to talk to me.
In Tamil.
Yeah, and I'm kind of like, yeah, like yeah, I'm just thanks. It's like,
Just do this.
yeah,
Say okay.
yeah, yeah.
The funny thing is, like I did it in India, they don't find it racist because they just think that I'm trying to assimilate. Well, I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah,
it's not fair to say, but of course, people would think I'm just trying to be racist.
yeah.
If I did it,
I've
they'll
seen it
find
myself in India. I've seen it, and growing up, I thought it was a. I don't want to say it is a stereotype, but it's based on a reality.
yeah,
And when I saw it, really, people doing that, and you start doing it yourself. You start doing it,
yeah.
and you're like, oh shit, I'm taking the piss, but I'm not trying
No,
to. It's
but
like,
we're not. You see, because even, but it's I don't know. It's just cultural. Like
yeah, yeah,
I would think of it more as I'm just. This is it's like reflecting, right?
yeah,
you wanna
yeah.
be in the same zone, so you're just mimicking.
Well, yeah, and that's kind of where I was sort of going to, and as I was wrapping up, what do you think? And Singapore might be where it is as we reflect more, as we become more comfortable in ourselves, and not worry about if they're prejudiced, if they're racist, if they're sexist, and we just kind of go with ourselves. Pardon me, with ourselves. What do you think the future language will look and sound like when you say about tones and language and think about Singapore as a bottom of a series of islands? And what do you think we'll all be like Singapore, or do you
No,
think
I think we will all speak Chinese.
I thought that you think?
Well, I don't know. In a way, I think everybody wants to be more global, more cohesive, but yet the individualization is also another big thing. So we want to be the same, yet we want to be different.
Mm,
So the on one hand, we didn't like it when people told us that the Singaporean accent is very strange, right? Like, oh, you have an accent. It still feels a little bit of an insult. It feels like an insult rather than because rather than thinking that it's a nice accent, right? Because
yeah.
nobody likes a fucking Singaporean accent. They think it's funny. They think it's funny. They don't think that it's romantic like the French.
No, it's not. It's not seen as romantic. No, but it's I'm going to use the word very carefully. Exotic enough.
Exotic. Yeah.
It's exotic enough to be interesting.
It's yeah. So the interesting is not so much of a. I don't know. There's good interesting and bad interesting. So we
Yeah,
fall
yeah.
on like the line on the line of the bad interesting rather than the good interesting. But then again, like Singaporeans now, we are very proud of the culture, and which is why there's a lot of like, we even have a dictionary. It's called I think it's like the Oxford Dictionary.
Okay, so it's been classified as a language within itself.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, yeah. Could
because it's
you?
such a big mix.
You don't have to do this. I would love you to give me your most Singlish uh, comment or phrase or even a paragraph, just to see
Oh,
if I can.
okay. I can I just tell you what is the most useful Singlish word?
La.
Can. Can.
That's why you. Okay, I didn't realize why. Okay.
So can is an English word, but we use it in all forms. So whenever you say, "Oh, do you want to go to the movies?" Can lah, or like can you do this? Can. Or it applies to across all boards and everything that you want to do.
I've just understood something about you that you've done for years, and I never understood that till just now. I'm wondering, why does this woman just text can? I'm just like, oh, okay, she's having some cola. You've just
This is me being Singlish,
right.
Singaporean.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you. So you don't have any mental issues. That's cool.
No,
Wow. Yeah, I just understood. Yeah, yeah. Can laugh.
no, mind blown.
Yeah, because you even just did it a little while ago before we set this
Yeah.
up, and I was like, yeah, can, yeah, yeah, can, no, can, do, like, yeah. Thank you. Okay. Do you see the future as more of that?
More of what?
More can la.
More can. The future is a can. Is more can? No can. The future, I don't know.
You don't know.
Yes. No, I'm trying to spread it as far as I can. Like I teach all my foreign friends, like especially the ones who just moved into Singapore.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
teach them useful words like cuss words, and like can is like the most useful thing ever.
yeah. No,
Yeah.
it's good to know that it is very
And
useful.
that's really one way to assimilate really well into the Singapore society.
Brilliant. Code switching. Thank you, Carrie. Stay online. I'm going to stop recording this. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for making time in the day for us, and much respect for that. Much respect. All right.
Thank you.
Cheers.